welcome to The Squeeze. Today we are talking about AI, which seems to be on everybody's mind. Adam muses on whether or not Skynet is coming to kill us all. And I talk about, do we really need marketing anymore? Is AI going to replace your marketing agency or your content director? Listen in to find out. Well, welcome back to The Squeeze. We took a little bit of a hiatus there, but we're back and we're talking about a super exciting topic today, which is AI in marketing. And I'm joined with my new co-host, Adam LaFaber. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Adam LaFaber here. I'm from Digital Sandwich, and I couldn't be happier to be joining you on The Squeeze.
I'm happy as well to have you here. So we're talking about AI and marketing. And I know this is a conversation that you and I have been having quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you want to set it up for us? Can I give us some pretext to the AI conversation?
Sure. So AI right now it's everywhere, right? So it's on the nightly news. I saw it on the morning news the other day, and it's like what everybody's talking about. Mainstream, what everybody's talking about, not just marketers. So this isn't just nerd stuff. Like this is like on the news. So, but what they're really talking about is generative AI. So AI in the sense of artificial intelligence. Well, let's start there. Mm-hmm. This isn't AI. This isn't really AI, right?
No.
What is it?
And I think honestly, we should kind of address that first, right?
I think so.
There's a very large misconception in the public when it comes to AI, right? Stands for artificial intelligence. And the way that we understand that phrase is that this is a self-learning, self-thinking machine. And what in truth it really is it is a program that is programmed by a human. And so really, we are not at a place yet in society where we really have true artificial intelligence that is available to the public. And these machines, these programs and algorithms, they seem very intelligent, but they only are capable of doing as much as what the programmer programmed it to do.
Right. So the intelligence piece, I think, is what I have the problem with.
Yes.
Because it's not actually intelligence. There's no gut feel.
Mm-hmm.
There's no learning, right? We're not taking what happened in the past and turning that into, well, I touched the stove once, I'm not going to touch it again. Really what it is a large language model, the LLM, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have this, OpenAI is the biggest one right now. There are other ones. There are going to be more coming out. Meta hasn't released anything. Amazon hasn't released anything. Right. You know they're going to.
Right.
So this is going to become even more interesting later, but really it's a large language model. So they've fed it like 10% of the internet, right? Mm-hmm. So it's more, I think of it as aggregated intelligence, right?
Yes.
Aggregated information. That's the AI in my head.
Well, right. And in truth, like that is what the internet is. You know, in condensed summation, right? It is the collective understanding of the human population that has placed that content on the internet. And so it seems intelligent because the amount of information that is placed into these programs and algorithms is so vast that it's more than any one human brain can hold. Right.
Absolutely.
So it's like being able to be surrounded by all of the smartest people that you know in all of these different areas that you don't have expertise in, and asking and getting immediate answers, right? Like in real time from those people, except for those people are the ones who just put the information there. So the machine isn't actually doing any of that thinking and developing of answers. It's literally just a fetching thing where it's fetching content that's already been placed by a human. So I think that that's an important like caveat to any artificial intelligence discussion that we're going to have. And we're going to be talking about this for many decades to come.
Well, right. Because I mean, even just in the last 3 weeks, the new developments with AI are crazy. I mean, you're seeing it added to tools that people use. So this isn't going to be an adoption thing. They're going to force folks to adopt it. LinkedIn, Google Workspace, Gmail, Google Docs.
Bard that just released.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So how's it different than a search engine, right? So we just said we're querying it and it can return a result. So, but how's that different than a search engine?
I think the difference is the presentation of the information,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the difference is when I'm searching something in a search engine, I then have some manual labor to accomplish after I've found the things that I'm searching for to put the content together from all of these different data sources that I've been able to source through the search engine. This is just taking that one step further, and it is placing all of that data in a palatable way for you and I to understand.
The other thing that's interesting, and I think we're going to end up with some pushback with this, is starts to create a problem as far as like SEO and such.
Right.
It returns one result, right? So if I say, write me a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, it'll give me a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. If I go to Google, it's going to return 20 recipes,
Exactly.
2,000 recipes for chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
And then I'm choosing which one I want to use. That's interesting because now it's choosing the winner. It's socialism. AI is socialism.
Well, that's a really interesting point that you bring up because it is truly based on the preference of the programmer, right? So whoever programmed this AI is saying maybe they programmed the AI to retrieve this chocolate chip cookies recipe based on the amount of reviews that this recipe had on Yelp or the amount of shares that this recipe got on Pinterest, right? And so depending on the preference of the person who actually programmed this technology, you're going to get a different result. And so there's so many AIs out there, they're not always going to return the same chocolate chip recipe.
So what you're saying is bias.
Yes.
That there is actually still human bias.
There is a great deal of human
Sure.
bias in AI. In fact, there's been recent studies within the last 6 months that show that many AIs are in fact like racially biased and educationally biased. And because there is no way to really filter out that human bias of the programmer. I do have a guilty pleasure of reading some of those like sitcom scripts that AI generates.
Yeah.
Those, they do make me laugh. So,
well, then you can jump over to the image stuff and have it create all the images and now the video. And I mean, it's getting a little wild.
Yes.
It's getting a little wild, and it's sort of have a love-hate relationship with it because I see the benefits for sure. I'm concerned about the perception. What do you think that it does to devaluing what it is that we do?
So that's a tricky question because I honestly don't think that it devalues what we do. I think that it's a valuable tool that helps us save so much time in the content creation space, which allows agencies and even just independent business owners to create better and faster marketing without that time cost, which ends up being the bulk of the marketing cost most of the time. So I worry that the way that people are going to interpret AI is it is a replacement for human generated content, right?
Everybody's a writer now.
Exactly.
But that's one of 7 steps in writing long form content.
Well, exactly. And because of this bias that we're talking about, it removes I think from the public perception, it removes the verification aspect of the validity of the content.
Agreed.
Right. So we know that like the program is biased based on the programmer or the information source that the programmer selected to use for this information sourcing. Right. And so if they're only using WebMD is a great example. Right. There's a really funny joke about Googling symptoms online, and it's like Googling symptoms that you have only tells you which diseases have the best SEO.
That's funny.
Right? So like, let's say a programmer only used WebMD for medical information to help create AI-generated content for medical information. Well, we know that that is not always factual, you know, and if they're not using medical studies or, you know, papers written by verified institutions, right, then there's a high chance that some of the content pumped out by that AI is false. But if me and you, not doctors, are using that AI to write some kind of medical information, how do we know? What are we fact checking it against?
We don't know any better to fact check. And don't forget, people are lazy too. It's not just do they know, it's will they bother? Will they bother? Now they have this tool that allows them to spam faster.
Mm-hmm.
So they will.
Right.
And so that's my concern. So back to the perceived value.
Right.
So yes, it allows us to iterate, ideate quicker, write quicker, but that's only part of the process. My concern is the perceived value, not the actual value. I think it helps us, but does the perception become everybody's a writer now? Even if that's true, that's only one step of it.
Right.
What about fact checking? What about editing? What about making it readable?
Right.
Google's in the game too. I mean, they released Bard. They have Lambda internally, right? Which may or may not be sentient. Am I allowed to say that? Is this going on YouTube? It's maybe I shouldn't say that.
Right.
I probably have marked us.
We'll add a little disclaimer at the end,
right?
Marked
us. We're probably screwed. But they're okay with AI content. I mean, they released there's a whole segment. They're completely okay with AI content in the context of it has to be valuable. Same as any content.
Right.
If you're a really bad writer in general, they don't like you either. It doesn't much matter if you're AI, human,
right.
whatever. They want valuable content. It's still eat.
Well,
and now they've added experience as part of is the next eat.
Exactly. And let's just kind of cover that valuable metric too.
What does that mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting topic too, which could probably blend out into like 3 or 4 more podcast episodes. But in short, Google as a search engine and all search engines are also not fact-checking engines, right? So they are not doing anything to verify the validity of the information that they are returning. They're only returning it based on the value, and value is calculated by interaction by the public. And so if I have an article that says the sky is pink, right, and it contradicts what we know that the sky is blue, right? But if it gets a lot of engagement and user stickiness and high traffic and high social shares, the search engine uses metrics like that to determine its value. And so we have to be aware of that as a society, which is, I think, a larger problem in its own. But most of the time we're not aware that the value is not that the article and the information itself is factual. It is just engaging.
So that's a really interesting point that you bring up, that it's not a fact-checking engine. It's a search engine. Now, if you're talking about your money or your life, right? So if it's medical or finance, some of you're talking about engagement as a signal. There are other signals that they will employ, such as authorship,
right,
and domain. So if they can verify that the article came from a domain that has authority, meaning it's been around a while, whatever, or whatever they consider authority, again, somewhat subjective perhaps. And if the author, if it's medical and it's written by a doctor, and you're linked to their LinkedIn, they're a real person, they can validate that, that is a signal as well. But I have concerns. Who's writing their stuff really? They're not.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it's concerning. So honestly, we could probably have a 3-hour philosophical discussion about all of it. But ultimately, what we want to tell business owners today is that AI content, first of all, we want to educate you on exactly what it is, which we've done so far. But we also want to state that it is a valuable tool in marketing, but it doesn't eliminate those really important steps that you were covering, Adam, saying that there is some kind of editing that happens after this AI pumps out the content, that there's an assessment of like relevancy to the target demographic that you're marketing to, that there is some fact checking of that article, right? And those things, I think it's important to note here very clearly, cannot be outsourced to a machine.
Not yet.
Not yet. We are not there yet. And
then there's promotion and distribution. There's also, so you touched on it, but also, does anyone care about this topic?
Right.
We can churn out content all day long. I can have 1,000 articles by the end of the day. No problem.
Yes.
Who cares? That's just spam. It's just garbage.
Yes. Well, and let's value it for what it is. It's valuable as a time-saving tool. Time cost is high for marketing content creation. And if this tool is used in marketing content creation, we can reduce the amount of time spent by almost 50% or more, right? In certain cases. However, there has to be some kind of human effort. And I harp on this all the time, but marketing is about people. It's about communicating with other people.
Sure is.
You cannot remove the person out of that, right? You can't do all of your marketing with the machine communicating to all of your people. It will always be obvious that it's not another person behind the screen.
It really is just a tool. I think my analogy was you can put a hammer in my hand. I might be able to hang a picture. Now, our buddy Josh can build a house. I cannot do that.
No,
it's just a tool. I love it for research. I do like it for like rough drafting. And we've been using different types of AI for scoring and editing for years. This isn't new.
Right.
Like, so all this blow up is kind of funny to me because it's all just about generative. We've been using AI. I mean, Siri's AI, Google search is AI. It's all AI. If we're going to call this AI,
yes,
we've been using AI for years, for sure. When you buy something and Amazon says people also buy, what we call the algorithm, it's AI. It's predictive. It's what do most people do next? What's the next word that comes? Now they're just spitting it out rather than giving you suggestions.
Right.
So I've been rewatching the show The West Wing.
Oh, yeah?
I have. And I long for, could we just have Martin Sheen as president? That'd be lovely. Even with, that'd be wonderful. Anyway, I never watched it when it was on, so rewatching is not the right word. I'm watching The West Wing. And very typically what they do is exactly how we're treating AI. So there's a topic that he needs to have a speech or some comments about. He says to his staffers, hey, I need 1 page about X, Y, and Z topic. I need it back in 20 minutes. The one guy says the other day, he goes, I'll have it tomorrow. And he goes, 20 minutes. Okay. So he comes back with the research. That then goes to the writers. The writers now spend the rest of the afternoon or the next 2 days writing the speech or writing the press conference or writing the press release, whatever. And then they come up with a first draft and then they tear it apart for the next however long before it goes live. This is what AI is doing, right? It still needs to be that middle part where the human interaction is. It's great for research, as long as you're fact checking it. It's great for the editing and scoring and what have you. But you still need the humans.
Yeah, you'll always need the humans.
Until they kill us. I'm telling you, the Boston Dynamics guys are going first, though.
Oh, man.
You watch the videos.
Those robots are so creepy.
Yeah, they're beating a robot. They're going first.
But
when they start disappearing, it's time. Skynet's on the way.
Listen, AI today, the way that we are using it as a society is not really intelligent. It's not really doing all the work for you. It is not sentient. It is not a substitute for a marketing director or a marketing agency. It is a helpful tool. And I think that's the important takeaway today in our episode. So I think we're going to wrap it up here and continue our philosophical discussions in some future episodes. And we'll definitely cover an episode where we dive more deeply into the algorithms and actually how they work. But ultimate takeaway, AI is a helpful tool for small business owners, really any business owner, any marketing department, but you can't ever remove that human element out of marketing. Any final words for us, Adam?
You're not replacing us yet. AI. Not going anywhere.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on The Squeeze today. Make sure you subscribe and wait for our other episodes. We should be putting them out every couple weeks now that we're back in season with our podcast. And we'll see you next time.